we're going to talk about your assignment was create a title block, and then your extra assignment was to draw the United States map and draw the states, and for bonuses, kind of create some cities, locations, and things like that in there. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of talk a little bit about blueprints and what a set of prints are and what the reason for a title block is. This right here shows you what a set of prints look like. You know, you lay out a set of prints and everything else. Notice they had this nice little border around it in this picture. What this does is gives it this place for it to actually kind of
It's not shown for us. It's at least it's not shown for me. I'm not sure if it's shown.
Okay, there. Yeah, I must have stopped.
There it is.
Okay, good. Thank you, Cody. All right, so here's like a set of prints rolled up, but you don't see a title block. You don't see any information here. But all they're doing is kind of showing, you know, non-referential information, just very generic. All right, so close that out. Go back to images here. We're looking for like you've seen blueprints. I mean, when you have a wad of blueprints or a roll of blueprints at a job site, that's what they kind of look like. And they have to have some kind of structure or anything like that. Like here, just looking at this. This has a border around it to contain it and let you know where things are. All right. When you don't have anything to contain something, it kind of looks out of place. Like, look at this. You don't know where the end, you don't know if everything's here. You don't know if you're missing something or anything similar to this effect. Okay. Here you have a little bit of a border. You have a border that kind of shows the outline of it here, and you have a little bit of information here. This is the title block. Okay. The title block is the part that goes around everything and anything that's associated with like the group of the drawings. Okay. Like if we click on here, you can see a nice title block here. All right, Starfleet Division. You have a title block, goes around the whole thing right here. You see the edge of the paper. There's nothing on the edge of the paper, but you see this contained within inside of it. Okay, so you have down here, you have the title block, Starfleet Division, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't know why they have this particular vessel in the Starfleet Division, but that's okay. All right, never mind. I'm getting a little geeky there. Okay, so the purpose of the title block is convey the information that you're about to actually reviewing, and you're understanding where it comes from, what the purposes of it are, and everything else. Now, a D-size drawing is a 24 by 36 inch piece of paper. That is a big drawing. Okay, it lays across a workbench, so you can actually build your house, build your site, build your facility, whatever you need to do with it. All right, so you won't have one drawing. You'll have a stack of these things. You'll have a roll of these things, and you'll call these a stick file. Okay, because what happens is 9 times out of 10 you stick on. You used to actually take a couple of sticks and compress them on one side of it and bind those down, and then you have a stick file, and they actually hang those in racks. Let's see if I can actually find an image of that. All right. Here we go. This is what this is what a stick file rack would look like. You have a bunch of drawings hanging down right here. These would be D-size drawings, and these would be something like C-size drawings, or even C-size drawing. All right, we won't get into C-size. We don't use that very much anyway. All right, but the point was I want you to understand that this thing is an important part of your document, of your drawing, because it's what helps you figure out and show everything that needs to be shown and let your person know what it's for. So right now we're going to go ahead and create a title block. Okay, this is kind of my go by here. I'm kind of going to use this as my reference to draw. Okay, so I know this one happens to be, this is actually it. I've already drawn it a long time ago. So we're going to draw it again. Okay, we're going to start from here. All right, so we're going to start this off in model space. The other key factor is it's a block. It says title block. So it is a block that is editable with the sense that the attributes inside of it need to be modifiable. If you don't have a block, then you just have a bunch of entities floating in the drawing, and they can get moved, misshapen, erased, or whatever. And you want to have control over that. That's why you have the block. You kind of all creates it all as one entity, so it actually works pretty well and efficiently. So without further ado, we're going to draw a P line from 0, 0, 0, and we're going to draw over. We're going to draw the outline. This is the border extents or the paper outline itself. I'm going to go over 36 inches. I'm going to go ahead and make this one a architectural D. Okay, which is a 24 by 36. I'm going to go up 24 inches. I'm going to come across 36, and I'm going to C for close. C means close the last, from the last point I did to the very start point that I did. So that's why it closes up and goes right there. All right, so now you can see my title block, F7. All right, if I was to pop a couple dimensions on there, you'd see 24 by 36. All right, so now we know we talked about margins, and you want a little bit of a margin. I'm going to offset this in 0.75. All right, just to get me a start point. Now, typically on your left side, you're going to have a bigger margin. So I'm going to bring this in about another 0.5 inches. I'm going to make sure ortho's on, because if ortho's off, it's kind of dragging this way and it kind of skews my line. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to hit F8, turn that back on, and I'm going to drag this direction. I'm going to type in 0.5 because I just want to shift that over 0.5 inches. It's not moving it. It's actually stretching it because I was using the grip in the middle of the polyline here. What that means is grab this and stretch this way. And since it is a polyline rather than lines, it will actually move the other points that are relative associated with it. All right, so on the right-hand side, I don't need as big of a margin. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it in 0.25 over here, but I do want a little bit of margin because what happens is when you're copying prints, especially these big size prints, have you ever used a copier and you copy it through, and then you suddenly, even if they're 8.5 by 11s, you notice sometimes things start shifting off the glass, and so you don't always get what you want. And that's kind of what happens with D-size. You want to make sure you have plenty of space to allocate that and not worry about when a copy gets made, you're going to lose content. All right, so now let's talk about layers. We want to actually set up our layers here. First, I'm going to set up a paper, and I'm just going to call it paper, or just call it, actually call it outline. Outline. All right, so there's paper outline. We're going to set that to a kind of a grayish color, so it's kind of off, but it kind of stands out. And then we're going to create a layer called border. All right, and I'm going to set that to a different color. Let's set that to something that stands out. Let's go with yellow, because yellow stands out pretty well on this black screen. So I'm going to close that out, and I'm going to go ahead and move this over to the outline layer. All right, so it's kind of a little bit grayer, and I want to put this on the border layer. All right. Now, when you're plotting, you have a couple different options to create a width on the paper. Let's see if we can go back to something like this. Let's see, where were we? Don't have anything there. I thought I had one up. No, apparently I don't. Okay, well, never mind. So if you want a thickness to come out on your piece of paper, like let's bring up this here. All right, so if you look here, all these lines are thin, okay? Because I plotted it, see if I can get this to scroll down. I plotted it with just monochrome CTB file, all right? But what I can do is I can actually use pen colors to actually control the thickness. All right, I'm going to show you that real quick, and then we'll kind of continue moving on. You have to decide how you're doing this first, all right? So I'm going to go back to my drawing here, my title block starter that I showed you did here. Now, notice green is the color that I had that drawn in. So I'm going to go to plot. And instead of using monochrome, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to update this just a little bit. I'm going to say monochrome, boom. I'm going to go, yes, boom. And I'm going to update this. I'm going to set green to plot thicker. Now, where I'm going to do that is instead of using the line weight, it's using the line weight of the object here. Okay, I can use this as well, but I'm going to actually go with color. So here I can actually control what the thickness of that's going to be. Now, if I go with 0.5 millimeters, that's actually a pretty good thickness. I'm going to pick OK on that. I'm going to save and close this. Actually, I just messed up my monochrome, but that's okay. I'm going to stick with that and pick OK, and I'm going to plot this. All right. Now I've got to plot this to something different, and I'm going to say green, just so it shows something different. Now, if we zoom in a little bit, see how that's thicker? Now, if I click on the other one, you can see how it's thin, and now it's a little bit thicker. So pen colors can be used to create variation and something to stand out a little bit more. Now, that's something to understand in your title blocks. That's something to understand in your drawings. When you want your other disciplines, like say you're an electrical guy, and you have a piping background that has structural, it has piping, it has equipment all located in plan. You want that to be faded a little bit, but it didn't want to stand out super strong. You want it to kind of be there, but not overbearing in the sense that it actually takes over the drawing, because you want your stuff, the electrical conduits, the cable tray, your instrumentation, your lights, you want those things to stand out. So you'd actually add a thicker line weight to those things. All right, so let's go back to this. Another way to do this is actually go ahead and assign a width to this polyline. I'm going to select the polyline, and over here you have a global width. Okay, so if I say I want that to be 0.0625, okay, which might be rather large. So actually, let me pick it over here, 0.03125. Okay, so notice how it has a width now. All right, but if you notice something here, using colors, you don't see the thickness inside your drawing. There is a line weight option here, okay, but colored line weights don't show up in here in any way, shape, or form. Notice there's no difference here because I do this and nothing happens. Now, originally, my AutoCAD did not allow for line weights to be presented in the drawing file. This is a long time ago. MicroStation used to do that quite a bit. And so AutoCAD went ahead and adopted that. And so they actually have to where you can actually create line weights on your layers as well. So if I come in here and I set this, well, not that, I set the line weight right here, and I go ahead and set that to that 0.5 millimeters that we did earlier, 0.5 millimeters. Now, if I turn on line weights display, notice it's nothing there, but if I turn it on, it actually shows up. And that kind of gives you a little bit of a representation. Now, it's not the best because it kind of skews because it tries to be adaptive for the screen. Okay. But know that those lines don't actually have a thickness on them. It's just being applied from the line weight of the layer. All right. So there's definitely something to understand there. I'm going to turn this off because I do not ever work with that. All right. Sometimes I will occasionally utilize those in drawings, but I won't actually work with them on. Now, a lot of times in a title block, you might use some of these thicknesses like this. And so I'm going to keep using that. All right. So I need a title block area down here to show my information. All right. So we've got the actual border area and we've got the paper limits here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in a border area right in here. I actually usually like the one that comes all the way across here. So I'm actually going to take a line from E and D point of here, and I'm just going to draw it all the way across, perpendicular here. Now I'm going to move the last thing I did. I'm going to L for last, and then I'm going to enter, and I'm going to take it up 3 inches. Okay, so now I have a little area for drawing my title block entities. Now I can go ahead and move this to the same layer as my border. And what I can do is I can go ahead and set my border. I can type in layer, go here, and I double click on this, and you notice the check mark will go switch over to border. I'm going to go there, so now I'm there. Now, I might want this line to match the same line weight as the border, so I'm going to go ahead and pick on that, and I'm going to set that weight to be what I had on the other one, so I can actually pick on here. I can see that's 0.03125, and then I can set this to, oh, actually, it's a line, so I need to make it a polyline. Key line or p edit. If you want to make a line a polyline, you simply type in p edit, pick it, and it'll ask you down here, do you want to turn it into one? Yes, enter, or in for no. And then it just exits the command. Why enter? So now it's actually there. I can type in W now for width, and I can actually set it to 0.03125. Okay. Now keep in mind, when we're talking about plotting, we were talking about millimeters earlier. That has to do with plotting and line weights only. The units in this drawing are decimal and inches. Okay. Don't confuse plotting with your units of your drawing. All right. So just because you can actually convert your plotting units over to be inches as well, but 9 times out of 10, nobody cares and nobody really worries about it. So you leave it whatever it's at, and typically it comes out as millimeters. So there's a little line weight, description on that. All right. So now I need actually a line from over here somewhere. So I'm going to draw a line from mid. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do a P line from mid of here to perpendicular to here. All right, that kind of gives me a nice middle point. I'm going to go ahead and copy this over here, and I'm going to say, looks a bit here. Now, if I look at my screen, I can kind of see it says 10.875, 10 point something. I don't have snap on at the moment. I hit snap, and now I'm on snap, but I don't really care for snap at the moment because I didn't start with snap when I picked that point. So it's not a good benefit for me. You want to start your pick points once you have snap on, and we'll get into that in just a minute. All right, so I want to go with a good distance. I'm going to say 10 right there. Now I've got that. Now I can actually have a nice spot here where I can actually start placing some of my line work. All right, so now I can copy this line down, and I can say I can bring it down to 2.5. All right. And then I can trim it here. And now I can actually put my drawing number and possibly a revision here and maybe some other miscellaneous like scale information in here. So I'm going to set this polyline here and I'm going to set that to 0.375, 3.0.03125 again. So my thickness is maintained the same. All right. So now if I copy this over here, say it's a 6.25. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the dimension that I have on here and it's kind of giving me a value and I want to stick with consistent distances. So that's why I'm doing that. Then here I'm looking at this. I want to have plenty of room for my drawing number. And so I'm going to say 2.5. And now I'm going to trim off this stuff up here. I don't care for it. Now I need this place for my drawing number in here. Here's my revision here. And here is like maybe scale factor. All right. So I need some things that I identify that. So I'm going to place some text. All right. So I'm typing style. And we're going to create a style. Okay. We're going to create a new one. And we're going to call this border text. All right. Pick OK. Now I'm going to leave the height set to 0 because I don't want to have a specific height. I want to start picking various heights depending on what I'm actually placing. So for right now, I'm going to leave that at 0 because I'm going to have it prompt me for that. All right, Arial is a good font to use if you want to use a TrueType font. If you're not going to use TrueType font, you're going to use a true AutoCAD font. I recommend Roman S or something similar to that effect. Okay, I'm going to stick with Roman S. All right, let me find it, Roman S right here. All right, I'm going to stick with that as my font file. My width factor is probably going to be about 0.9. Not 1. Okay, 1 gets too bulky and takes up quite a bit of room, typically in AutoCAD drawings. So I'm going to pick OK and pick close. Now I'm going to type in text. Now I'm going to place a piece of text. I'm going to use the endpoint of this line right here, and I'm going to set my height to 0.125. All right, and then I'm rotation on text going to be 0, and I'm going to type in scale. Use uppercase, scale, and I'm going to boom, just like that. Now I'm going to take this and move this down. Let's see, 0.1875. All right, I'm going to move it over 0.0625. Since I'm using these 8th and 16th and 32nd inch dimensions, I'm going to go ahead and set my snap that way so that I actually know when I can actually place things. So I'm going to set snap to 0.0625. All right, so now when I'm moving things around, I can actually work with those kind of dimensions. All right, so I'm going to copy this from here. I'm going to go from here to here. Notice how my snap actually snaps on those lines, just like it looks like really good, like I intended that. That's because I did. Because remember when I was placing these, I was picking distances that were actually real good values. They weren't like 0.0033325 and stuff like that that you can actually end up with. So I'm going to pick there, and I'm going to copy that again. I meant to actually copy that from here, and I'm going to go right to here. Now I'm going to set this. I'm going to type in rev. Boom. Just type in rev and leave that like that. Scales usually has a colon, and you'll have drawing number. Actually, we can go ahead and write it. Yeah, drawing number. Okay. Boom. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and put rev colon. There we go. All right. Now it looks like I might be a little bit big on these. Now in your title block, when you have identifying things like this, it's not too bad to go with something a little bit smaller. So I can take these, I can highlight all of them, and I can set them a little bit smaller. I can say 0.09375, 3 seconds of an inch. Okay, now that looks pretty good. I can shove something else in there. I can move those up a little bit, and I can have a decent sized piece of text for my other items. So now we have the attributes we want to actually come to continue with. I can go ahead and continue my line work, or I can start drawing my attributes in right now. But one thing you want to understand when you're creating your block, you want to pick the attributes in the order that you want them to be prompted for the user. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and continue drawing my outlines or my border components. Okay, and we'll look in here and see what my kind of border looked like over here. Okay, I had a space down here, had a drawing number, had a rev, and I had a scale, and then I had an area here, and then I had like a logo or a company information line there. So what I'm doing, I'm going to copy this here, and I'm just going to drag that up, and I'll leave a little bit of space for a logo up there. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, looks like we can put a few lines of text down here, and that part looks good. Now I can come over here. Where you place things is a little bit up to you. You can put a variety of different things. I'm going to cut these over 2 inches, and I'm going to copy this line from over here, and I'm going to take it and move it from here down to here. All right. So what I could do here is instead of doing that, I'm actually going to move this line here. Actually, I'm going to shorten this line first. I'm going to pick it, and I'm just going to pick the two endpoints. I'm going to snap on snap. I can just drag these to the same spots here. I don't have to worry about using perpendicular end or anything like that. Now I can grab this in the middle and start moving it wherever I want. Okay, so I'm going to drag it up here, and I'm going to check my distance from E and D point of here to perpendicular to here to see what kind of distance I have there. I have 0.375. That's actually great for 1/4 inch text, but I don't think I need or that's pretty good for 1/8 inch text. I don't think I need quite that height for some things, but this is actually going to be pretty good. So I'm going to offset this 0.375. I'm going to pick here, 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 and here. All right. So now I have a place to add some additional information in here. So I can draw a line from mid of here to perpendicular to here. All right. I'm going to go ahead and extend this by picking here and then just dragging with snap because I know that line's on snap, and I pick it. And then I can actually change all these lines here to a 0 because I don't really want those to be too thick. So I'm going to hit width. I highlight it all, and I can pick one place and type in 0 here. And now they're all 0 width. So what I can do here is I can actually put some of this text here, copy this from, and I can pick here, drag it, and put it right here. And this can be consistent right here. I can say drawn by, and I can move this down to where it's actually a little bit centered. Boom. And then I can copy this from here, here, to here, to here, to here. I don't know that I'm going to need all these values, but I'm just pasting in there just in case. All right, so now I can click on this, and I can say drawn date. Okay, drawn date. All right, and down here we can put scale. Scale. Oh, I already have scale, so I don't need scale. What? I don't know what I'm going to do there. Let's go back to my go by and see what kind of things we had there. We had checked, approved, project. We have project number. We have a few things there. All right, so let's go back over here. We can say checked by. And we can abbreviate this one, and we're just checked date. All right, you see that kind of sticks out a little too much there. That's where that width comes in. You can kind of cheat here, highlight all that. Over here on the properties, you notice this all. You can't select just the text information, but if you click here, you can select text, and now you can modify just the text properties you want to deal with. So I can actually tweak that and set that to 0.8. And now it all fits a little bit better. Looks a little cleaner. All right, now I can put APPRBD by or approved. It's kind of cheating. Okay, APPRBD date. Okay, and then we have project number. Let me put a colon under that. And you can put project let's see. What could we put here? File name. Okay. All right. So now I have some additional data we've actually placed in here. We can place logo data in here if we want to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to make up a logo real quick. I'm just going to draw a circle. I'm going to offset it. I draw a line from here to here to here, and we're going to trim out this, and we'll go here, 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 and there. All right, we'll call that our logo. Okay, and we'll put some text here. I'm going to type in text. Now you could use a fancier font if you wanted to here, and I'm going to stick with, I'm going to do middle left. And I'm going to put it on the end of this right here just for now. My height is going to be about the height of this here because I want it to stand out. And now I'm going to rotation is here. And I'm going to type in my company. And actually, I'm going to make this where it's all right. And now you can see it sticks out a little bit bigger. And there you go. So you have your logo, you have your my company, and now we need to add some attributed text for these things down here. Now we also need to add some revision information here. So what I can do here is I can kind of cheat and I can extend this line to here. Extend this, 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 and I can actually just use crossing and come across these two and we'll actually do the same thing. I can copy this line from here over to say here. And again, I'm on Snap, so I don't really have to worry about typing in dimensions or anything like that. I can get to the value that I like and go like that. So that'd be like revision. And then here's the revision date. They'll have to have something in here for approved and a date. Okay, good. So we could probably move this over so you don't need quite as much move for the revision number. There we go. And so what we'll do is we'll actually add either up top or down below. This is how you actually want to format your title block. If you want it to flow from top down or from bottom up. All right. There's not a right or wrong way that I've ever noticed. It just depends on who does what when they want to do it. But just make sure that you understand when you do it, you create it and set it up so the person using it knows the difference. I want this line here to be the same width because I want it to stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and put that, change that to the same thing. Now there's a command called match prop. Okay. You type in match prop, you select the source property that has the properties you like. I pick this and then I pick this and it will match those properties together. So if I draw a P line that is on a different layer and I put this on a different layer, say I put that on 0 and I want this to line these, I can use match prop and I can select this and pick this. It's going to change the thickness of it and the layer of it and change it all for me. Okay, similar things for text, dimensions, circles, all kinds of different things. You can actually make things work for you on that. All right, so now we need to come over here. I want to copy this here. I did not actually want that way, but that's okay. Now what I want here is I want this to kind of be a different justification. So I'm going to pick this. I'm going to set my justification over here to center. All right, and then I'm going to move it to the center between here and here. And then I'm going to change this to Rev. Okay, I'm going to copy this from here over to here, but I want this now to be left justified. So I'm going to set this back to left justified. Boom. And I'm going to move it back about where I want it. This is going to be description. All right. And then we're going to have another one over here. And we'll copy because I want these to be center justified. So I'm going to grab these and drop these in the middle of here. I'm eyeballing this, but you could probably use the midpoint or M2P if you want to actually place those in there correctly. But I'm just doing this for expedience time because we're going to run out of time at some point in time. I'm going to say by. That would be the person actually creating the revision. And then date. All right. So now we have our things here kind of locked in. All right, so we have our border here. This could be for notes. It could be for stamps. It could be for a variety of different things. Okay, if you wanted to put notes over here, write notes over here, you could do that. I recommend just leaving it alone and leave the space open for whatever the end user needs to actually end up using it for. Okay, so now we're ready to start adding our attributes. Okay, so ATTDEF is the name of the command to create an attribute definition. You're going to see this tag right here. I'm going to type in drawing number. Now, you cannot use spaces or special symbols in your tag number. It's going to be capitalized, so it doesn't matter what you do there. All right, prompt. Here, you want to actually be kind of pretty with it. So you're drawing number, put a friendly prompt in there so the user understands what they're actually supposed to do. Now, default would be something that would actually show the format of your drawing number. Say your drawing number is disciplined. You can say DISC, or let's say XXX dash number and dash 0000. So you might have something like a discipline code here, and then a discipline number or a project number or a sequence number, and then a sequence number here as well. So that's why I'm kind of laying it out. I'm going to go ahead and put it XX dash XXX X. Okay. And left is actually fine with me because I want it to start over here, right here, and then kind of go this way. Border text is the layer is the border text of the style it's going to be. And the text height is not going to be 0.4375. I'm going to make it 0.25. All right, and we're going to see if that actually fits in here. Locked position. It's not going to be preset. It's not going to be invisible. It's not going to be constant. It's going to be, and I'm going to specify the point on screen. So everything I've checked off here looks good. So now I can pick OK, and I can place this, and I can put it right about here. All right, so you can see how that fits in there nice and neat. Now I can actually copy this one from here over to here. But this one here I want to make centered. All right, so I want to text my text style, or not text style, my justification. I'm going to make it center, but I want this to be a little bit shorter. But honestly, you typically want your revision to be a little bigger. So I'm going to leave that the height. And I'm going to adjust some of this line work a little bit for you. So, but now I'm going to double click on this, and it prompts me up for edit to attribute definition. So now I can actually say rev, and I say revision. Okay, default for this should be A. Okay, because you're going to start off with an A revision. Click OK. All right. Now it doesn't show A or drawing number or anything like that because it's attribute definition state right now. So again, I'm going to stretch this a little bit. Grab here. I'm going to remove my rev attribute or remove, pick it, and I'm going to stretch this over to there. All right. I don't really need that much space because rev is not actually truly going to take that much space. So I'll actually stretch it a little bit more. I'll stretch this back. Oops. Stretch. Boom. We'll grab all this back. And I'm going to stretch it to where the V is kind of going outside a little bit. But that's good right there. All right. Now scale. I need to have one for scale. So I can copy this over here. Scale factor is going to be a pretty long entry. So we're going to change this height to 0.15625. You typically want your title block text to be a little bit bigger than some of your other things. So that's why I'm using bigger text there. Okay. You're going to call this scale. That's all it is. Oops. I didn't finish my other values here. Okay. Scale factor. All right. And default would be NA 1 equals 1 or NA. Probably NA is probably a good one to go with. Okay. And kind of stick with that. All right. There. And that's left justified. So that means when somebody inputs something here, it's going to grow this direction in the open space here. Same thing for the drawing number. It's left hand justified. See this point right here? That's where its justification or its insert point is. Same thing for revision. Revision's actually incorrect. I need to set that to left so it actually stays right here. I have it set to center, so it'll actually stay right about there. So let's leave it there. That actually looks a little better. That way it will kind of fill in this space back and forth however it needs. Okay, now we need some more attributes up here. So what I can do is I can kind of copy this from here, and I can bring this up here, and I can set it there. Now I can actually move this a little bit better, or I can change the justification for it, however I want to set it. I can set this to middle. Okay, it gives me a little bit more control of getting that in the middle where I might want that to be. So I'm going to set that to middle, and I'm going to grab it. I'm going to move it over to about the middle for right now, and then I'm going to scooch it up just a little bit. Oh. And that's not too bad, but I think I actually want to nail this down to where it's in between in the direct middle of this box right here. Okay, so I'm going to click here. Boom. Now I'm in the move command. I'm going to say M2P of E and D point of here and E and D point of here. I picked the two corners and now it's exactly in that spot. So now I can actually copy this from here and I'm on snap. So I can just pick here. I hit F8 here, 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 and then here. All right. So now I just need to go in here and edit these. All right. So I'm going to double click on this. I'm going to say drawn by. Again, no spaces. All right. I'm going to put dash dash. What the dash dash gives you is it makes it to where when nobody inputs anything, at least you can double click on it and get to it. All right. This is drawn date. All right. Again, I'm going with unique names so I can identify what they are. So the tag is relevant. And we'll get into why that's relevant later. Drawn date is actually a field that you typically, when the drawing was created. So you have an idea of what the history of the drawing you're working on is for. All right, drawn date, again, dash, dash, going with that. All right, again, check by, CHKD by. Okay, you don't have to be super fancy. As long as it actually identifies it, it's good. Okay, by, and dash, dash, and check the date, CHKD date, check date. The prompt is just a prompt. It's not anything special. It doesn't have to actually be filled out, but it does help the user understand what the purpose of this particular attribute is for. Okay, approved by, APP by, and approved by, and dash dash, and approved date, APP date, approved date. I can type. And again, dash dash. And then we're going to go to here, project number. Okay, project number. And let's say 00001A. Something that possibly shows how the format of your project has worked out. All right, and now we need to do some revisions over here. All right, now we decided we're going to go from the bottom up. That's why we put the rev description, by, and date down below. That means it works its way up. If we put them up top, you would typically work your way down. So we've shown them where they start from here and go up. So I'm going to actually copy this. That's actually centered. That's okay. I'm just going to copy it over here. It's middle justified, and that's fine. I'm going to put that about there as well. It's actually centered in here, so we're good with that. And now we're going to call this rev1. Rev1. All right. Fusion 1. Okay. And that's going to be a dash, or we can set that to a default of A. But actually, we're probably going to leave that as blank. Okay. And we'll get to that later. All right. I'm going to copy this from here over to here. And I'm going to go and copy it over to here and here. All right. So this one I need to be middle left. So I'm going to pick it. That means it's going to be in the middle left. So you have left right here. That's always going to be there. That's a base point. That's always with everything. When you have a different justification for text or attributes, it'll have 2 dots. Okay. If it just has 1, it'll only have the 1 dot. If it's just left, it's going to have the 1 dot. If it's middle left, middle right, right, left, not left, top left, or whatever, it's going to have 2 points on it. Okay. Now, either one of those can be your grip, your move point. So just understand, but you're typically going to use the one that actually is in the center, or the alternate one from what you're actually using, because that's what you're going to use it to aligning to. All right, so here I'm picking this. I've got an attribute, and I want to set that text justification to middle left. Okay, so now I can grab it and move it back where it lines up with the description down here. So now I can solve this, DESC, DESC1, vision description 1, and blank. Okay, I don't want it to have any value in it right now. This one here is going to be rev by 1, rev by 1. And blank. This one's going to be rev date 1 and 1. All right. Now, all we have to do now is copy these up and change the other ones to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I'm going to copy. I'm going to go from here to here to here. This is where snap is a beautiful thing. When you're actually creating something that's uniform like this, snap is wonderful. All right, so now I have all those there. So now I just need to change these to a 2, 2, okay, 3, 3. Again, you don't create title blocks every day. Most of you will probably not ever create a title block, but I am a firm believer in you knowing what makes a good title block and understanding how to use a title block. So that's why I'm taking you through this drill so you understand, because this is the title block is an extremely important part of your drawing. It's the foundation that you start upon. So you want to make sure you have this part right. And any good drafter or designer should know how to create a good title block and use a good title block. So that's why I'm showing you guys this. I want to make sure you understand it and kind of build upon it. And you can take this and build on yourself. And that's why I want you guys to actually do this exercise and do it well, because all your assignments from now on are going to be turned in using your title block. And I want you to understand that your title block sets who you are, presents who you are, shows your professionalism, and is your signature. And what work you put into that shows me what work you actually plan to put forth in your assignments. Because anybody can scribble stuff on a napkin, but you start looking professional once you actually start. Did I pick the wrong one? I did. Let me make sure here. This is what makes you look professional, is when you actually are professional and you put things together correctly and efficiently. Now, is there a perfect title block? No. Is there a title block that's going to give you the information you need to have presented and look the part you need it to look? Yes. There are other ways to do this. I'm just showing you the steps that you guys have to take. I missed one. 6. 9 times out of 10, I'd cheat and actually use, Lisp or something like that to actually start creating these. But since you don't do this very often, it's not extremely beneficial to write a whole lot of Lisp routines to do these kind of things for you. And you can see each one of these tells the user where they're at. Okay. Fourth position, fourth position. Okay. That's critical because when you're actually toggling through a bunch of title block attributes, you want to know where you're at and which one you're modifying. Right. All right. Click OK. All right. So our title block is essentially done. Now, there's a couple of different places. Another thing you could put on here is a date stamp. Okay, or a file stamp or something similar to that effect. Because what happens is you get a drawing, and you might be beneficial to have a date stamp. So I'm going to add a text stamp over here, and I'm going to place it right here. I'm going to draw it this direction, but actually I'm going to set my height to 0.0625. It's not something you want to be big. You want it to be there. It's kind of offset. It's just for filing and reference information. So I'll place this on here. My rotation, I'm going to drag up this way here, and I'm actually going to just do this and put that there like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to fields. My type of fields bin. This is something a little bit more advanced I haven't shown you guys yet. I might have or may not, but I'm going to put in here, I'm going to put the file name, and I'm going to include the path and everything to go with it. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, Control C. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to double click here, and I'm going to Control V that right there. All right, so that gives me the file name. That tells me everything I need to know about that. I'll get into some other things that we can show later, but for right now, I think that's sufficient for us, what we're actually trying to show. All right, now this I might want to be a little bit lighter because I don't want it to plot the same. So I'm going to put it on the same layer as this, as the border outline. So I'm going to grab that because that's kind of a thinner line weight. I'm going to put it there so it doesn't stand out quite so much. When you see a gray wrapper around a piece of text like this, that typically means it's a field. That means it's calculated, it's controlled by the drawing or by the system or by something. Okay, so you don't really have to worry about filling anything in there. That does not need to be an attribute. Okay, so here is my title block, but this is the block definition. I have not made it a block yet. It represents a title block, but there's no actual block on it. Oh, I'm forgetting the main parts here. Let me create this real quick. I'm going to copy this up. Boom. And I'm going to modify this. And let's set this to center, justified, boom. And I'm going to put this right in the middle. I'm going to say boom to point X of mid of this line right here. That way it's right in the middle. And I'm going to copy this from here down to here and down to here. Now you might put some other things over here, so county or location or something like that, but I'm just going to go with 3 lines here. I'm going to call this title 1, title line 1. And I'm going to say title 1. All right. This is going to be title line 2, title 2, title line 2, title 2. And same thing here. 3, title 3, title 3. All right. So now we've created we have everything going in our title block. And granted, this may or may not get complete, but as you guys get going, you'll understand some of the other elements you might want in your title block. You might want a little bit more information here. Your client might want a little more information here or there. So that's what you kind of end up with. So we're going to make this a block now. All of this needs to be blocked. I can type in block. I'm going to do this wrong. So you see how it's wrong. I'm going to just fill in here. I'm going to say title block, really generic name. Everybody and their brother uses it. So I'm going to pick OK. And it's going to say, you didn't select objects. I'm going to say, yeah, select objects. Boom. And pick OK. Done. All right. Now it's asking me to fill out my title block, my my information. If you look through this, see how this structure is messed up? You want to sit here and fill out all this stuff this way? Okay, as you start toggling down. Okay, so I'm going to pick, you get next, because you have multiple sheets here. You can see how this is kind of like wow, I'm typing in, I'd like to type this in some order. Okay, because now if I double click on this, I go right to the attribute, and that's good. I can edit it. But if you look through here, this is the order it's in. This is the order: title 3, title 2, rev 7, 6, 5, 4. Notice this goes from what I created last to what I created first. Okay, so that's kind of tells you how things get kind of set up there. Now this one here is red for some reason. Do we have 2 scales? Oh, see, we have 2 scale factors. I must have messed up something. All right, so I need to hit cancel. So this title block is not really that great because the order is not extensive. So I'm going to undo, and I'm going to undo the block. Okay, so now I have 2 scales. I have a scale here, and this is supposed to be file name. So that's my bad. I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to say file name. Okay, which is kind of bogus attribute, but I'm just adding it there so we have something filled in. And I'll pick OK. All right, so now when you see 2 red ones, that means you have 2 tags that have the same name. That's going to cause you data errors. You don't want to have that. All right, so now I'm going to do this correctly. Block. First thing you want to do is make sure you pick the point you want it to be. That is going to be this point here. Okay, we know it's going to be 0, 0, 0. Boom, I pick that. I type it in. Select the objects. All right, so what you can do is now at this point, the line work objects don't mean anything. You can select those in any order you want. So you want to select these in the order you want them to be prompted. First thing I want to see is title 1, title 2, title 3, and then the drawing number, then the rev, then the scale. And then I want to see these over here. Drawing date, boom, boom. This is the order I want things to be prompted for. And then I want this to go here, 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 here. You don't want to use crossing or window because it's going to give you a random order in which it excuse me, in which it selects, which is going to be based on reverse order from the drawn by or how it was drawn. Okay, so that's why I'm going through the years and picking these the way I want them to be picked or shown up in the attribute dialog box. All right, so I've selected everything there. Now that I've selected everything, I can actually just highlight everything now because those other objects are already selected in the order I want them. And then I can pick OK. Oh, I need to create a name for the block. Now, title block is too generic. We want to go with something here. Okay, so I'm going to call this, I'm going to put the date on it, 2023, because that tells me when I created this title block. And I'm going to kind of define what it is. It's a D size. Okay, I'm going to say arch D. Now I could put who it is. I'm going to say my company right here in front. So it's 2023. I'm going to take off the extra U there. My company, Arch D. Okay. And I think I'm good. I have the size of what size it is. It's Arch D. And it's my company. I have the logo. And that kind of gives me a little bit of unique identifier there. So now I pick OK. And I'm going to pick OK. Notice how it's actually aligned up in the way that I actually picked it. Okay. So you can actually go through here. So if you were just typing through here, you could actually just sit here and type enter, 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 and go through the data as you know. All right. So now when I double click on this, all right, let me bring the attribute editor over here. You can see how that actually comes together. Okay. So you solve title 1. I can say this is, I'm going to go caps. This is line 1, line 2, line 3. Now I'm on the drawing number. I'll say 1000 40 0001. Boom. My revision is A. I'm good with that. Scale factor is going to be 1 inch equals 10 feet dash 0 inches. Boom. Drawn by is DCM. And drawn date is going to be 06 07 23. And check by, we don't know that information yet because nobody's approved it yet. Okay, project number is, that's good. File name, I don't really care right now. Revision is going to be A, and it's going to be issued for review. And it's going to have it's going to be by me most likely, DCM, and then the rev date is going to be dash because I don't know it just yet. And I'm good. I can pick OK at this point. I'm looking really good here. Now all this information's here. I have my title block. I'm good to go. So what I can do here, now I can take this, I can write this out as a block. All right. So if I type in W block, and write block means I take a block that I have in this drawing and I write it to a file by itself. And I'm going to put this in a different file folder. I'm going to go to my documents folder for right now. And I'm going to call this 2020. Yes, I'm going to stick with that same exact name, pick save, and pick OK. So now if I start a new drawing over here, and I want to insert this in, say, paper space, I click on layout 1, and I erase the default viewport, and I insert. Type in the insert command. I hate this insert command, but that's okay. We'll go from here. All right, I can click on, that's a file section dialog. Click there. The 3 ellipses gives you the file dialog box, so you can actually go pick it. And I'm going to select the documents folder. I'm going to sort by date so I can see the last one I did. Pick OK. Pick OK. And scale's going to be 1. Rotation's going to, I can pick the insertion point, and all this stuff here, so I can actually set that to 0, 0, 0. Everything's good. And boom. And now I actually need to move it because that's the way this dialog box thing works. Weird. 0, 0. I apologize. I'm not super familiar with this particular dialog box in the newer version of AutoCAD. Okay, and now it's there. Now this dashed line here represents paper space and what's the printable area. Since I have not actually printed this, I haven't created a layout for it. But I can quickly do that by typing in plot. I can set device. I'm not really overly concerned about that. I can select my device. I'm typically going to go with AutoCAD high quality. Okay, print. All right, now you want to set your sheet size. Mine is Arch full bleed D size. So you say Arch full bleed 24. I'm sorry, Arch full bleed D. There you go, 24 by 36. Okay, I'm going to plot the extents because the extents are everything inside that border. All right, and I'm going to center the plot. And you can see this because that's just the way it is because I have set to 1 = 1, and that's what I want. I pick apply to layout and then pick OK. This is going to plot to a file for me. I'm going to pick OK, save. It's going to open it up. And you notice this is yellow. It's really hard to see on a white background. That's because I didn't pick a CTV file. So now I'm going to close that, and I'm going to go back to AutoCAD, and I'm going to plot, and I'm going to set the CTV. I'm going to set it to monochrome, okay? And then I'm going to pick OK. Same thing, pick OK, yes, overwrite. And now you can see, here's my title block. And notice that line weight is a little bit thicker. It doesn't matter what color it is. It uses actually the polyline weight to plot that and know that it means that thickness. Now, if I zoom in here, this says drawing.2, or drawing 2, okay? And you can see that's actually what our name of our file is here. So what happens if I do this? Save as, and I save this as a new drawing. I say my new drawing. That's horrible. My new. All right. So now if you look down here, you can't really see it. but it shows the path and everything. So now if I plot this, the fence, plot, and pick OK. Did I apply that? I did not. Now I didn't apply it last time, so I need to make sure I pick monochrome and then apply to layout, because otherwise it just assumes you're going to keep picking whatever you want. So I'm going to pick OK. It's going to plot again. Say boom. And notice if I zoom in down here, you see it actually shows me the path where this file is. It's in user, see more, OneDrive, documents, my new drawing file. All right. You can add more things on there, like when it was plotted, the plot scale, the sheet size. There's a lot of different things in data you can actually add in there to actually show you what things are looking like. But that is how you create a title block. And that is how you want to create the foundation of your drawing. I have seen people do a lot of wretched things. Okay. So like something to avoid is having an insert point off somewhere else. Okay. By default, if you're just drawing in space and you just pick the block and you grab it and you go, it uses 0, 0, 0 as your default insert spot. But if you're drawing up here and your content's down there, then you're hosed. It's not what you want. So make sure you understand that. Now, this is a block now, so I can move this whole thing anywhere I want, just like this. But in Paperspace, you want to keep that at 0, 0, 0 and leave it right there. All right. So since this is a title block, if I was working in model space, I could use this title block in model space, and I can actually scale it up to fit the things I want. So if I insert, I'm going to use dash insert, and I'm going to use, oh, actually, I'm just insert, boom, and I'm going to prompt for insertion point. I'm going to drag this down and okay, move that to 0, 0, 0. All right, now it's here. Now, if I wanted to draw my scale in this drawing, be 1/4 inch equals a foot, that would be 48. So I can actually pick this, and then I'm going to type in scale 48, 48, 48. It scales from the insertion point. That is your base point. That's what the grab is. That's what your handle is. So that's where it's going to scale from. So make sure you understand that when you're actually scaling your title block. So now if I drew something from in here that was 20 feet across, 240, it will actually fit my title block pretty reasonably. That's 20 feet going from there to there. That's where you get that title block. That's where you can understand where you can actually get things and put them together and make things happen. All right, guys, I'm going to open it up to you guys to ask any questions you might have. What do you got?
At the bottom right, that REV and what is that, A? That we have that at my work as well. What is that? What is that for? I was curious about that. I meant to ask them.
Okay, so a revision is something that goes through document control, or it's for document control and document history. So if you say you have a client and you issue the drawing out and it says, hey, we're building this house, it's 20 feet by 30 feet, in size, and you print that out for them, you give it to them, it's Rev 0 because it's issued for construction. All right. And they come back and say, yeah, we'd like to tweak that up. We'd like to make it 35 feet. So you come back, you modify the drawing, you give them the 35-foot version. That's going to be Rev 1. Okay, because it's changed. And what happens is if you have two contractors on site, one of them's using Rev 0 and you're using Rev 1, then you can say, hey, dude, you don't have the latest revision. This building is actually 35 feet. You can see my revision is Rev 1. It's at a later date, and this is what the actual size is supposed to be. So this allows your contractors to understand where they're at and what they actually have to work with. So when you make revisions to the drawing, they can look at the drawing and see what the revision is. And that way, if you have one contractor that's saying, hey, I need to get 37 feet of this and this and this and this. It's like, no. It's actually not 37 feet anymore. It's 45. You need to make sure you're on the latest revision. He's like, well, what revision you have? I have revision 3. He's like, oh, okay, I'm working off revision 0. I'm way back. Okay. So that's how you actually identify these things. Typically, the alpha revisions like this are going to be used for internal releases and releases to the client before you get to construction, because you want to go through a few phases to make sure everybody signs off on it and everybody's happy with it. So if you're building a house and the guy handed you a set of prints and said, here's what I'm building, and you're like, well, I'd like to do this, 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 and he's like, yeah, no, this is what we're building, because he didn't give you the option to give any input or anything like that. So 9 times out of 10, you'll issue your drawings to your client for like an issued for review, or issued for approval, or things like that. You also have issued for bid. There's lots of different issues. You can do issued for design. So the alpha revisions typically give you for internal or for pre-releases of pre-construction type things. Once you go to a numeric, which would be 0, that is Rev 0, and that means it's issued for construction or approved for construction. Okay, what else we got?
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Brandon,
Mm.
any comments?
None yet. Still trying to process all that. That was
Okay, you see how
fastballed
you see how this is a lot different than what you turned in?
yeah.
Okay. And I want you to understand that just making it a block doesn't make this editable. Okay. If this was text, I could not double click on it and change it. I couldn't change this to something else. Okay. It has to be an attribute. It has to be an attribute definition. Because what an attribute definition is and a block definition is, it's like a blueprint or a recipe. It says, hey, draw this here. And that's what the insertion point of this block is. Because if I go in here and go to v-edit of this block, because once you actually have the block created, you can go into v-edit and modify the block. You can go in here and tweak it and do some other little modifications to it if you want to, and then those changes come into play. So if I go in here and I start drawing a bunch of stuff in here, boom, and then I'd be closed, that's now part of the block. So if I move this, all that moves with it. That's not actually the way that's supposed to work. I mean, that is the way it's supposed to work, but you wouldn't want to put stuff in your block for your title block to show up in your drawing like this, unless it was actually something you needed to be part of every drawing. Okay, so I'm going to v-edit that. Go back, take that crap out because we don't want that.
So could you like say like create the title block and then save it as like the DWG file, and then like every time you go into like start like drawing or anything, you could just pull that up and then just save as and change the file name, and then it would be like,
well, that's a great question. Okay, now when you start a new drawing, you started it from a template. Okay, so here I am, a layout, boom, nothing's in here, nothing's the way I want it. If I want to insert that title block, I've already written that out to a block. I can insert that thing as a block, boom, and just, I hate that. I get big with that command. Okay, 0, 0, 0, boom, and here I am. I've got my title block. I can do what I want to it. I'm good to go. All right, or you can create what's called a template. Okay, let's go back over to my new drawing right here. So I've got this set up the way I want. If I look at my plot, I've got this. Actually, I don't have it set up the way I want to go ahead and set that to monochrome, and I want to apply that, and I want to set this to what I had before. Actually, I'm just going to use the previous plot here. It's going to set it up for me. I'm all good. I'm going to apply that to layout. That's good. That means this drawing is ready to plot, and it plots good. Okay. I'm going to cancel this and cancel X. I've already applied it, so I'm good. So I can hit cancel. So now I like this the way it is. I want to save as a template. Okay. Right here, set this to DWT. It's going to take you to your template folder. Now, if you add it here to your template folder, what happens is when somebody comes back and uninstalls or reinstalls AutoCAD, you lose this and you won't have that. So you want to put this somewhere where you know where it's at. So you're going to go up to, and I'm just going to put this in my documents folder for right now for sample sake. And I'm going to say my company drawing template. Okay. So now I've got a template. I can put a description here. You can put something if you want to. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to say all layers is reconciled. Save all layers. Boom. Click OK. All right. So now that's done. I'm in a template now. Now I can close this. Okay. If I just open the title block, okay, if I just open this right here, click OK, guess what? These are attribute definitions. It's not a block. It's all line work because I'm inside the block. I am not inside of a drawing with this inserted as a block. So don't make that mistake. If you ever open a title block up and you're thinking you're going to start blowing and going, you're like, why is this stuff not working? This is not doing it for me. I don't understand what I'm doing here. Why is it prompting me with text instead, or this stuff instead of an attribute dialog box? That's why, because you open it up like that. So you don't want to ever make that mistake. No. All right. So, but now if I open a new drawing, I pick start and I hit new. But if right here, instead of hitting start, as soon as I hit start, it starts a new drawing with the last template I used. Okay. So if I go back here and I select a different one, I pull this pull down here and I go to actually, since I haven't done it here, didn't put it in the right folder. I'm not searching for that folder. What I can do is I can actually bring up Explorer. So here, so you can actually see it. Now I can double click on this. Okay, and go to my documents folder, which is, this is where it's at. I can double click on that and it'll open a new drawing and that'll be my default. Okay, because I saved that as my template. So it's good to go. It's ready to rock. I type in plot and guess what? It has all the right settings for me right there as well. Another nice thing about this is if you create in your template all the layers you want, if you would pre-save those all in there, then you'll have all those layers ready to work with. So if you have a text layer, you already want your text to go on. You have a notes layer, you have walls layer, or conduit, or some of your content layers already defined, then they'll actually come in and be defined in that as well. Does that make sense?
Yep, that answered my question. Yeah.
Good deal. All right. Anything else?
I can't think of any. It was just those two that I had.
Okay, well, great. Brandon, Liam, anything?
None right now.
Okay. Well, I will get this video uploaded so you guys can watch that, and I will put up a couple of sample files in the Discord channel as well. So I'll put this one up, and I'll put the one that I created up, and you guys can kind of look at that and then create your own. I mean, you can cheat and use some of that one if you want to, but I'd rather you actually draw it from scratch. It's going to give you a little bit more experience and a little understanding. I want you to practice using your snap, use your layers, understand the text and attribute definitions, and so kind of work on that, and it'll help you out.
All right, sounds good.
All right, guys. Well, I will stop this recording then.